Do you know what the most dangerous lie about manifestation is? That you just need to want it badly enough. That you just need to believe. That you just need to raise your vibration. But nobody tells you that there are invisible layers inside you working against every desire you try to create. These are programs so deep, so well hidden, that you don't even know they're there. And as long as they remain active, it doesn't matter how many techniques you learn, it doesn't matter how many spiritual masters you follow, the result will always be the same. I'm going to show you the 5 limiting beliefs that are destroying your manifestation field right now. And the 4th one is particularly cruel because it uses your own past as a weapon against your future. Most people live their entire lives without realizing these beliefs are operating. They think the problem is lack of faith, lack of worthiness, lack of discipline. But it's none of that. The problem is that you're trying to build a new life with a foundation made of old belief. And that foundation is cracked. It's contaminated. It's sabotaging everything before it even takes form. And the worst part is that you were taught to validate these beliefs, to accept them as absolute truths, to never question them. So if you really want to understand why your manifestations don't work, pay attention to what comes next. Because what you're about to discover might finally break the cycle. The first belief that sabotages your manifestation field is this: money is dirty and rich people are bad. You look at your bank account and feel a tightness. You want abundance, you visualize, you affirm, but something inside you recoils every time money approaches. And what's interesting about this is that this recoiling movement doesn't happen in the conscious mind. It lives in a deeper layer, in that territory where real beliefs govern the results of your life. You were taught since childhood that money corrupts people, that those who have a lot have little character, that wealth and spirituality are like water and oil, they simply don't mix. This type of programming is subtle but extremely powerful. You grew up hearing phrases like, money doesn't bring happiness, the rich don't enter heaven, good people don't get rich. And each of these phrases was planted like a seed in the fertile soil of your childhood consciousness. Over time, these seeds sprouted and became enormous trees, with deep roots that sustain an entire forest of financial self-sabotage. And now, as an adult, you try to manifest prosperity, but these roots pull everything back into scarcity. The problem is that the mind cannot create what the heart considers wrong. You can repeat 1,000 affirmations about abundance, you can visualize vaults full of gold, you can perform elaborate rituals, but as long as there's an unconscious association between money and immorality, your energetic field will block any movement toward wealth. It's like trying to drive a car with the parking brake on. The engine works, the fuel is there, but the vehicle doesn't move. And there's an even more interesting detail in this dynamic. You don't just reject money for yourself. You judge those who have it. Every time you see someone prosperous, your mind does an automatic moral scan. Is this person honest? Did they exploit someone to get there? I bet they sacrificed their family, their inner peace, their values. This constant judgment functions as an energetic decree. You're telling the universe, loud and clear, that wealth is synonymous with corruption. And the universe, which is a perfect mirror, responds by keeping you exactly where you are, far from what you yourself condemn. The situation gets even more complicated because you romanticize poverty. You've transformed lack into spiritual virtue. You believe that being simple is being pure, that living with little is living with God, that scarcity is a sign of detachment. But what you call detachment is actually fear disguised as enlightenment. True detachment isn't rejecting abundance, it's being okay with it or without it. It's having the ability to flow in both plenty and simplicity without identifying with either. But you're not flowing. You're stuck in scarcity and calling it a conscious choice. And the most fascinating thing about all this is that this belief works like an invisible shield. Every time a financial opportunity approaches, the shield deflects it. You don't consciously notice, but your body responds with discomfort. Your heart races, your breathing becomes shallow, your mind makes up excuses. It's not the right time. This isn't for me. I'll wait for a better sign. And so, opportunity after opportunity slips through your fingers because your internal frequency is tuned to the station of scarcity, not abundance. But this isn't the only belief sabotaging your manifestation field. The second belief that cuts the energy of manifestation at the root is this: I'm not good enough. You grew up hearing comparisons. At school, at home, at work, everywhere someone was always better, faster, smarter, more beautiful, more capable. And each of these comparisons was sculpting within you a distorted truth. You are the lesser one, the less qualified, the one who doesn't deserve. Now, every time you think about manifesting something big, the inner voice fires. Why you? There are people much better than you doing this. And this voice isn't soft, isn't gentle. It's cutting, precise, relentless. It knows exactly where to press to paralyze any movement toward your desires. You even try to visualize, even try to feel the reality you want to create, but the feeling of inadequacy is stronger than any spiritual technique you apply. The problem here is deep because it's not just about low self-esteem. It's about a complete identification with the position of inferiority. You don't think you're inferior, you feel you're inferior. And feeling is much more powerful than thinking. Thought can be changed with affirmations, with mental reprogramming, but feeling is rooted in an entire history of experiences that confirmed this position. Every time you weren't chosen, every time someone was praised and you were ignored, every time you tried and failed while others tried and won, all of this built an identity of not being enough. And what's most interesting is that you sabotage before you even begin. You have an idea, feel a desire, notice an opportunity, but before taking the first step, your mind has already done the calculations. It's already compared you with those who are already there, with those who've already succeeded, with those who are better. And the conclusion is always the same: you're not up to it. So you give up before trying, or you try in such a timid way, so without force, that failure is inevitable. And failure only confirms what you already believed. Really, you're not good enough. This creates a powerful vicious cycle. You don't manifest because you believe you don't deserve it. And because you don't manifest, you collect more evidence that you're not capable. And this evidence strengthens the belief. And the strengthened belief sabotages the next attempt. And so you keep spinning in this circle, manifesting exactly what you don't want, the confirmation of your inadequacy. Another aspect of this belief is that you live asking for permission. Permission to dream, permission to desire, permission to try. You look around hoping someone will say you can, that you deserve it, that you're capable. But nobody will give this permission because it can only come from within. And within you, who governs is this voice that says the opposite. That says you need to settle for less, that you need to accept the role of supporting character, that you need to stay quiet because calling attention risks being exposed as insufficient. And there's more. You don't just feel lesser than others. You feel that the universe knows this, that the laws of manifestation work for everyone except you, that you're an exception, a lost cause, someone who was born without the talent, without the shine, without the luck of others. So you look at those who manage to manifest and think, of course it works for them, but I'm different. I'm the exception. And by decreeing that you're the exception, you actually become it. Because the universe responds to what you believe is true, not to what you wish were true. This belief vibrates at a frequency of scarcity of personal value. You might even manage to manifest small things, crumbs, leftovers, but never the fullness of what you really desire. Because deep down, you don't see yourself deserving this fullness. You see yourself deserving enough to survive, not to thrive. And as long as this belief is active, everything you try to create will carry this energetic signature of I'm not enough, and the result will reflect exactly that. But what's interesting is that this belief doesn't work alone. The third belief that blocks your manifestation field is one of the most silent and treacherous. If I succeed, I'll lose someone. You don't manifest because you unconsciously believe that your success will threaten your relationship, that your family will feel envy, that your friends will distance themselves, that you'll be alone at the top while everyone you love stays behind. And this belief is so powerful that you prefer to keep yourself small to continue belonging. Let's look carefully at this dynamic. You grew up in an environment where everyone was more or less at the same level. Financial, emotional, intellectual, it doesn't matter. Everyone shared the same difficulties, the same limitations, the same complaints. And this created a bond based on identification with the struggle, with lack, with us against the world. And you learned that belonging means being at the same frequency of scarcity as everyone around you. Rising up means betraying the group. Shining means leaving others in the shadow. Winning means abandoning those who stayed behind. So you sabotage, not consciously, not on purpose, but automatically. Every time a big opportunity appears, the fear of being excluded appears with it. You think, what if I grow and my friends think I've changed? What if my family starts looking at me differently? What if I lose these people who have always been with me? And this fear is so intense that you pull back. You let the opportunity pass, you dim your shine, you hide your potential, all to not threaten the group's balance. Another fascinating aspect of this belief is that it makes you feel guilty for wanting more. You look around and see people you love struggling, suffering, unable to move forward. And then you think, how can I want abundance if they don't have it? How can I manifest success if they're stuck in difficulty? And this guilt functions as an invisible chain. You chain yourself to the life level of others out of loyalty, out of love, out of fear that your growth will be interpreted as abandonment. And what's most interesting is that often the people around you reinforce this belief. They make subtle comments, disguised jokes, veiled criticisms. Look who's getting important. Now that you have money, you'll forget about us. Be careful not to get arrogant. These comments are like barbs that lodge in your consciousness and constantly remind you of the price you might pay for daring to be different. And you internalize this. You start to believe you really will lose these people if you move forward. So you choose the security of belonging instead of the freedom of your potential. This belief creates an invisible ceiling in your life. You can grow up to a certain point, but never beyond the limit your circle considers acceptable. If you exceed this limit, you feel you're betraying an unspoken loyalty. A loyalty to collective failure, to shared mediocrity, to the group's comfort zone. And this loyalty is so strong that you sacrifice your dreams on the altar of belonging. There's also another movement here. You're not just afraid of losing people by being successful. You're afraid of discovering who's really by your side. Because as long as you're at the same level as everyone, the masks remain. But the moment you grow, true intentions appear. And you're afraid of discovering that some people were only close to you because you were safe, because you didn't threaten their ego, because you validated their limitations. So you prefer not to test it. You prefer not to grow so you don't have to face the truth about your relationship. The result of this is that you live in a comfortable prison. Comfortable because you're surrounded by familiar people, but a prison because you can't expand, can't evolve, can't become who you really are. And every time you try to manifest something big, this belief pulls you back to the group's level. And you go back. Not because you want to, but because the fear of being alone is greater than the desire to be free. But this isn't the only way you block your own growth. The fourth belief that destroys your manifestation field is this, and pay close attention because it's treacherous. I tried before and it didn't work. You carry past attempts as if they were irrefutable proof that manifestation doesn't work for you. I already visualized, I already affirmed, I did everything right and nothing happened. And now, every time you try again, you try with one foot back, without real conviction, just testing to see if this time it works. but you've already decreed failure before you even begin based on the past. Let's understand what's happening here. You're not manifesting. You're gathering more evidence that you're the exception who can't do it. Each new attempt isn't a real attempt, it's an experiment to confirm your incapacity. You enter the process already expecting to fail, and this expectation contaminates all the energy you put into manifestation. It's like planting a seed already believing it won't sprout. You can water it, you can put fertilizer, you can give it sunlight, but if you don't believe that seed has life, your energy will kill any possibility of growth. The past becomes your oracle. Every time you think about manifesting something new, your mind pulls up the files of previous attempts. Remember that time you visualized the perfect job and nothing happened? Remember that time you affirmed abundance for months and stayed broke? Remember all the times you believed and were disappointed. And these files aren't just neutral memories. They come loaded with frustration, disillusionment, pain. And all this emotional charge forms a barrier between you and what you want to create. Another devastating aspect of this belief is that you start to identify as someone for whom things don't work. You look around and see people manifesting, succeeding, achieving, and you think, it works for them. But with me it's different. I must have something wrong, some block I can't access, some curse I don't know how to undo. And by identifying as the exception, you create a parallel reality where universal laws don't apply to you. You literally place yourself outside the field of possibilities. This belief also makes you seek complex explanations to justify why it doesn't work. You start accumulating techniques, studying different methods, looking for the perfect ritual, the secret mantra, the exact frequency. Because if you can't do it, it must be because you haven't discovered the right way yet. And the more you search, the more you reinforce the belief that you don't know, that you're doing it wrong, that you need something external to finally succeed. And this relentless search keeps you busy, but doesn't move you an inch toward what you want. There's also a protection movement here. You don't want to really try because you don't want to feel the pain of disappointment again. Past attempts hurt. You put your heart into it, you truly believed, and nothing happened. And that pain was so intense that now you protect yourself. You maintain an emotional distance from the process. You pretend you're trying, but you're actually just going through the motions. Because if you don't truly surrender, if you fail again, it won't hurt as much. But the problem is that without true surrender, there's no true manifestation. And what's most fascinating is that you use the past as an excuse not to be responsible for the present. It's not my fault if it doesn't work. I already tried. I already did my part. And by removing responsibility from yourself, you hand over power to external forces. You become a victim of circumstances, a victim of the universe that doesn't respond, a victim of destiny that doesn't favor you. And as long as you're in the victim position, you have no creative power. You're at the mercy of whatever comes. You're not creating what you want. The result of this is that you enter a cycle where each new attempt is already doomed. Because you're not trying to create something new, you're trying to prove that your belief about the past is right. And the universe, being the mirror that it is, reflects exactly that. You manifest more failure, more frustration, more evidence that it really doesn't work for you. And with each cycle, the belief gets stronger, more rooted, more impossible to break. Unless you understand that this isn't the only belief working against you. The fifth belief that sabotages your manifestation field works like a cruel compensation system. I can't have everything I want. You manifest one area of life but sabotage another. You get money but lose the relationship. You get love but become sick. You have health but become poor. Because deep down you believe the universe collects payment, that complete happiness isn't allowed, that nobody can have everything at the same time. So you yourself create the negative balance. You destroy one area when another prospers. It's as if there's a quota of joy inside you and you're afraid to exceed it. You were conditioned to believe that fullness is arrogance, that having everything is unfair, that someone has to suffer to balance the scales. And this conditioning is so deep that you don't even notice you're doing it. You achieve professional success and suddenly start fighting with your partner for no apparent reason. You cure a disease and soon after face a financial crisis. You solve one problem and immediately another arises. And you think it's bad luck, that it's coincidence that life is just like that. But it's not. It's you maintaining the balance of scarcity. What's interesting is that this belief comes from a distorted observation of reality. You looked around during your life and saw that people who had a lot of money didn't have time for family. You saw that those who were very happy in love had financial problems. You saw that those who had perfect health didn't have professional fulfillment. And you concluded that the universe works like this, that you need to choose, that having everything is impossible, is greed, is asking for too much. And by accepting this conclusion as truth, you programmed your manifestation field to operate within this limit. So you live in a seesaw game. One area rises, another falls. You balance here, unbalance there. And the saddest part is that you do this unconsciously. It's not a deliberate choice. It's an automatic mechanism of self-sabotage. You don't even notice that every time one area of your life starts to prosper too much, you're already preparing the ground for the collapse of another. Because you can't sustain the feeling of fullness. It scares you. It makes you feel vulnerable, exposed, as if you were attempting something you shouldn't. This belief also carries embedded guilt. You feel that if you have everything while others have nothing, you're being selfish. That you're stealing someone else's quota of happiness. That your gain is someone else's loss. And this guilt prevents you from receiving with both hands open. You receive with one hand and give back with the other. You create and destroy at the same time. You build and sabotage at the same speed. Because deep down you don't feel deserving of total abundance. The result of this is that you live on an emotional and material roller coaster. Never stable, never complete, never in total peace. Always compensating one area with another, always balancing success with failure, always ensuring life never gets too good. And you call this realism, balance, acceptance of life as it is. But these 5 beliefs don't work in isolation. With these 5 beliefs active inside you, something fascinating happens. You find yourself in an emotional territory where any desire that tries to be born is immediately attacked by one of these thoughts. It's not a lack of spirituality, technique, ritual, or visualization. It's simple. The mind believes one thing and the spirit asks for another. And as long as the real beliefs, those that truly dominate your internal field, aren't seen with clarity, the universe can only reflect what's strongest inside you. Let's understand how this works in practice. You wake up in the morning and decide to manifest financial abundance. The first belief fires. But money corrupts, rich people are bad. You try to ignore it and continue. The second belief enters. Who am I to have so much? I'm not good enough. You take a deep breath and insist. The third belief appears. If I become rich, I'll lose my friends, my family will envy me. You still try to maintain focus. The fourth belief whispers. I already tried this before and it didn't work. Why would now be different? And finally, the fifth belief finishes. Even if I get money, I'll lose my health or love. And that's it. The desire that started with strength ends up crushed under the weight of these 5 beliefs working together. The problem isn't that you don't know how to visualize. The problem isn't that you don't have faith. The problem is that you're trying to create something new with an old belief system. It's like trying to build a modern house with Stone Age tools. The tools don't match the vision. And the result is always the same. Frustration, giving up, more evidence that you can't do it. These beliefs form a network. An invisible network that captures every creative impulse before it gains enough strength to materialize. And what's most interesting is that you don't even notice this network operating. You only feel the result. You feel the lack of energy, the demotivation, the feeling that there's no point in trying. But underneath this feeling, these 5 beliefs are working in sync. each contributing its part to keep you exactly where you are. Another crucial aspect is that these beliefs feed off each other. The belief that you're not good enough strengthens the belief that you already tried and it didn't work. The belief that you'll lose someone strengthens the belief that you can't have everything. The belief that money is dirty strengthens the belief that you need to choose between life areas. They're not isolated. They're an integrated system of self-sabotage operating on multiple layers of your consciousness. And the final result is that you live in a reality where manifesting seems impossible. Not because the universe doesn't respond, not because spiritual laws don't work, but because you're emitting contradictory signals all the time. You ask for abundance but emit scarcity. You ask for success but emit insufficiency. You ask for fullness but emit compensation. And the universe, which is precise, delivers exactly what you're vibrating, not what you're wishing for. Knowledge without application is just entertainment. You need to take each of these beliefs and dismantle them. Question where they came from, why you believe them, what they're protecting. And especially, you need to decide if you're going to continue living according to these programs or if you're going to rewrite the code of your consciousness. Which of these 5 beliefs did you identify with most? Write here in the comments. Don't be afraid to be honest. Transformation begins the moment you stop hiding what you really believe. And if you want to continue diving into this knowledge about consciousness and manifestation, subscribe to the channel and turn on notification bells, because what's coming next will show you not just the problem, but the way out of it.